Hello, frequency friends. When Leanne Rhymes says that Lisa Lister is the ultra nurturer, gently guiding us to remembrance, I thought to myself, yeah, that's exactly what I think. And when Cooler magazine crowned Lisa Lister as the defender of female awesomeness, I also said, yeah, that's totally the truth. So when I woke up on a Friday morning to see an email from Lisa Lister saying yes to a podcast episode, I totally flipped out. I mean, I would. So the energy is turned up and it is turned on in this episode of Female Frequency Podcast. I am beyond excited to welcome the divine Lisa Lister today. She is a painter of soulful commissions, seer, ceremonialist, and an author of some of my favorite all time books. So today we're celebrating one of her newest creations. It's a book titled Venus, A Sacred Path, a feminine frequency, a sensual love affair with life. And you're totally invited to join us for a conversation that I hope that will really ignite your inner goddess. Lisa has written transformative works like Witch, Unleashed, Untamed, Unapologetic. Another book is titled Love Your Lady Landscape, one of my favorites. And the other one is Self Sorcery, Come to Your Senses, Trust Your Instincts, Remember Your Magic. How good are these titles? And now she's back to guide us into a new chapter of divine feminine power. Together, we dive into her creative process a little bit, from crafting these powerful titles to embracing the sacred shadow work. Lisa also invites us into the Venusian world where love, life, and sensuality merge into this divine path of feminine energy. We explore ancient wisdom passed down through generations of women and how tuning into your intuition can unlock these divine realms. We also discuss what it means to carry the torch of women like Judy Chicago, who came before us. In this episode, Lisa gifts us with a very special meditation designed to help you drop into your heart, connect with your body, and fully embrace your divine Venusian frequency. If you're ready to tap into your essence, your feminine frequency, and ready to walk that sacred path of Venus, then this episode is for you. Are you ready for love, life, and power, and femininity, and texture and beauty? Well, I'm so excited. Let's tune in with Lisa Lister into that developing your magic. And I'd love to hear your thoughts at the end of the episode. So leave me a review because this is one of those episodes that's ready for you. Hello, sister Lisa. Thank you so much for joining Female Frequency Podcast.
Thank you so much for having me. We have to sing it. It's so important to sing it. I
It
love that. Use our
it
voices and let them know we're here.
Yes. I cannot wait to lift your voices and talk about everything you do and talk about the books that you're writing and your creative process. You are such a bright light, and through that eco-feminist lens, you're a game changer. You are reminding so many of us how to go inside and lift our spirits up from the inside.
Oh, thank you so much. Thank you for having me here to talk and discuss and like for doing the work you're doing. This is so important for us to share our voices and to lift each other up. That's so important. And yes, thank you. I'll receive it. Thank you very much.
Wow. So I saw on Instagram that you were in London and you were visiting Pike Serpentine Gallery, I mean, and you went to see the OG of feminist art. You visited Judy Chicago's exhibition right now.
Ah, and honestly, I mean, she is it. Like, she is such a foremother for us as women. I don't use the word brave lightly either. Like, she really made and continues to make art, I think, that like just speaks so loudly and proudly to my heart personally as a woman, but as somewhat like and like but she also has this like deep reverence for the feminine and its qualities, right? Like the qualities like to create, to birth, to be powerful. And I think Like, she's revelatory for sure. And she's so celebratory, so celebratory. Like, it's so bold, her art. And it's like it 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 can be talking about some really deep, deep stuff, and yet the color and the textures that she uses are so feminine.
Yeah.
And I just think, like, she also, like, going back to that bit about us lifting each other up, right? Like, she's lifted other women throughout history whose voices were taken from them when, and when you stand there in front of that art, and I had it on me, she's done a what's that called, a commentary as you go
Yeah.
round, so you can listen to her speak the story of her art and why she's done what she's done and how she's, I mean, and it was, honestly, I cried my whole way around it. But to listen to her commentary, and it almost feels like, to stand in that space, it feels like she's passing the baton. And I'm not putting myself in the same kind of space as her, but fuck it, yes, I am actually
Yeah.
putting myself in the same spaces, and we all should, right? Because it's our turn. Like, not that
Yes.
she's got to give it up, but it's like she's almost like calling us all in now. Like, she's like, I've been doing this a long time. I've been doing this, and for the most part she's been doing that solo. I'm sure she's got teams of gorgeous humans supporting her, but what I mean is, like, out there in the world, she's been very solo in this practice, and she's been, you know, she's been up against it. So now it feels very much like all of us are being called by Judy Chicago to make art and to celebrate each other the way that you're doing right here.
Yeah, to celebrate each other and to celebrate everybody's unique qualities. Absolutely. She, yeah, such a force. And for artists, almost giving permission for female artists to do what they are thinking about and give them agency back into their bodies and into their creative process. You know, creating the very first feminist art studio practice in
Right.
Fresno with the co-teacher, and she's so inspiring. And she actually, I helped her realize one of her exhibitions, one of her site specific
No
installations
way.
rather, in San Francisco. I was on her installation team, and it rocked my world. It changed my life forever. I mean,
How could it not? How could it not?
yeah,
Oh, that's insane. I can't believe I didn't know that about you already. That's so cool.
I've been dying to tell you. Yes, and then I
It's so
just got her
cool.
book. She just sent me her book, revelations from that show.
Oh my goodness, isn't it beautiful?
Yes. The very first page I opened up to was directly to the goddesses.
Of course it was.
You know, it was just like a tarot
Of
reading. I'm just
course.
opening it up, seeing what I need to read.
That's what I feel like all of her art is, though. I feel like it's this beautiful, like, divinatory process. Even as you walk through, if you, yes, there's a story to follow if you want, but also there's this really beautiful opportunity to meet, like, for a piece to meet your heart exactly where you are that day.
Yeah. Yeah. Her smoke sculpture, she was, you know, at the reason, one of the drives behind her was, how can I feminize the atmosphere? How can I feminize the air? And that's the baton that I picked up too. Yes,
I
I
love that
am.
we've all been given a torch. It's so
Yes.
exciting. God,
Yes.
that's beautiful, right? To
Yeah.
feminize the,
Yeah.
yes,
Let me
yes,
tell you,
yes.
yes, sister. Yes. Let me tell you, uh, I love picking up the baton that you are writing about in your books. You have so many books. I have read two of them. Your titles
Thank you.
are effing amazing. Love Your
Well,
Lady Landscape is one. Self
mhm.
Sorcery is the other one. Come to your senses, trust your instincts, remember your magic.
Yeah.
Come on.
And I would love to say, I would love to pretend that, like, that just comes to me, that they're channeled, that I'm like this divination rod for good titles. But I tell you, I'm obsessed with words, right? So, like, it matters, like the frequency of what I want that book to say in the in the world through those words that I've written. It matters, like, it really matters. So there's a lot of process around that, and not like nothing fancy. Like I don't, but what I'm saying is I don't just sit down and it come in and then we go and, but I can't write a book until I've got a title. So what I usually do is have this rough idea. So for instance, like Code Red, it's about the power of our menstrual cycle, right? And for so long that was just called the bloody book. Like it was the bloody book, and I would have gone with that as the title, quite frankly, but it didn't have a title, so they have a nickname until that title comes through. And sometimes it's like part way through when you know what it is, when it's
Okay.
like, yes, that's what it is, that's what it is. And then other times it's very much like I'll put loads of the keywords that have come up, and I'll put them all down and be like, what is it feeling like? What is it feeling like? But yeah, it has to have like I want there to be a quality to it that when people read it, they're like, yes, or intrigued. Like Self Sorcery, for instance, that's got a lot more coded kind of magic in it. So you let the subtitle do the you let the subheading do the work, right? Like
Yeah.
tell them what it is. But the Self Sorcery, like, but what is that? And because I can't even explain it, that's the point, right? Because it's feminine magic, right? And so we shouldn't be able to put that into words, not really, like, because that would be
Mm.
capturing it. That would be like almost trying to make it a thing which would then change ultimately in the next breath. Yet, I'm also in the business of writing books, so it has to go into a format of a book. So it's coded, like the book is coded, the title's coded, like it means whatever needs to mean for you as you're reading it. So you let the subheading do the title, do the work. But yeah, I love that part. Like that's like one of my most favorite parts is letting the name come. Like instead of naming it, like they generally name themselves, but it takes a hot minute. It takes a hot minute for us to play together, and it's like it's a co-creation, definitely.
It is. You know, I have your books. I often travel, so I have your books on my cloud, and I have loaned it out, so it's why it's not in my stacks here. But I mean, I want to frame your book covers. They
Bless.
really, I don't know, it's so special. They're so special, and you do create that sensual. You need to dive in. Like everybody needs to dive into these books.
Thank you. That matters. It matters to me. Like it really does. Like I know people say don't judge a book by its cover. And like when you are a creative, you'll know when you are creative, like all the parts matter.
Yeah.
Like it's like I could just be about words for sure. But if it's not beautifully packaged, if it's not if you can't feel what I want you to feel just simply by looking or like sense, like then there needs to be a frisson between you and that
Yes.
cover to get you in. And I
Yes.
want that, and I'm like totally unashamed about that's what I'm doing. Right, especially with this new the new book that's coming out, Venus. Like it was a Am I all right to riff on that? Are you okay for me to riff on that?
Please tell us, we get to go behind the scenes before it's even out. It's on pre-order now.
Sweet one, sweet one. So yes, it's a book and it's called Venus, right? So like I say, there are some books that Self Sorcery came through. It feels very coded. It's ultimately, I want women to remember their magic. And that will feel different to every woman. So we call it something that hasn't existed. Like so the Self Sorcery is a different thing. Whereas with Witch, like it's a punch in the belly for us all. Like it's almost like a punch in the vag to wake us up to our like, oh, this is who we are. This is the power that's been taken from us. So then when it came to Venus, it was like, right, okay, the word Venus is so loaded for a lot of
Yeah.
people. So it is also and it was definitely a question that came up, was like, but so many, you do realize that ultimately Venus is a pretty derogatory term for what was like these beautiful figurines ultimately, like that were um the female form.
Yeah.
And it's almost like we the word Venus has been put upon these fertile, nourishing, gorgeous, powerful statuettes almost, and that takes their power away. And I'm like, nah, like this is the point. And it's so much part of what I do is that I'm here to like reclaim anytime anyone wants to like witch. It was like, it can't be anything else. It can't be a witch's journey or a witch's path or like witch. And it's the same with Venus. And I've got it 5 times on that front cover because I want us to realize there are so many different versions of what Venus can mean to us. And it can, and like, yes, it's a planet. Absolutely. Its cycle is incredibly beautiful and really maps a beautiful feminine journey that we can work with. And it's like this beautiful sensual love affair with life. And it's how I've come back alive, I think. And then I share some of that story in the book. And it's about these goddesses throughout time who have all shape-shifted in some way to fit the narrative of the time. But it's meant she still exists, and she still exists in each and every one of us. And for me, that's what got me really excited about writing this book, because it's like, we get to tell the story of Venus now. No one gets to tell us what it is anymore. Like, we get to rewrite it, and that's what the invitation from the book is, right? So anyway, that's
It's
my very long-winded
it's back
story.
to putting the female agency back in
Yes,
the
our
main character
hands.
energy. It's back in the focal
Yes,
point.
and it's about bloody time, right? That's all.
Yes.
It's just about bloody time. And I think like the spell has been so strong, and I get it. I get why. Like, I get it. Like, you know, putting our power in the dark, then teaching us to be afraid of the dark, you
Yeah.
know. And it's like,
Yeah.
now we're remembering, and that's my goal, is constantly to just keep, and I keep saying about goals, but like my purpose, my mission, my reason is for us to remember. And then we get to, and just to remember that we get to respell this, we get to retell it, we get to do it differently. And we do get to do that. We are not powerless, no matter what they will have us believe. We are not powerless. In fact, we are so freaking powerful when we remember.
When we remember, I gotta tell you, it sometimes like that is a blind spot to remember your power.
Yeah. And like you said, it is because the spell is strong. Like, no one's saying like, oh, read a book, figure it out. Like, okay, I've read the book now. Like, I've got it. You know, it's like a daily practice.
Oh
Like,
yeah.
and we're human. We've chosen human form this lifetime, right? We're here in these bodies. We're here to fall forward, you know, fail forward, make mistakes. We're here to like feel what it's like, feel that resistance, feel that rub. Like, oof, that's uncomfortable.
Well, that's just
Why?
it. You're
Yeah,
asking us to feel. And
yeah.
I mean,
And that's ultimately all any of my books are, is for us to be back in our bodies. You know, like the goddess has been dismembered. So we have to remember, put ourselves back together again, be here in this body and feel. And that is not going to always be comfortable. That's the honest response. Like, I'm not going to be one of these like, "Ooh, like it's okay. We're in our bodies and it's all going to be lovely and light and gorgeous." Yes, let me say, there are moments of lovely, gorgeous, yummy, delicious, like bite the whole mango and let it all drip down and feel all of that goodness, all of the yummy stuff. And there's going to be pain and discomfort, because when we do remember, we have to then remember what's been before. Now, please don't, and what's to come, because that's the beauty of being us, of being these divinatory female, like divination rods, right? Which is ultimately what we are. We're able to kind of see past, future, feel all of it if
yes.
we're present to it, and we remember that we can do that. And by doing that, it's not always going to be comfortable. And what else is there to do? Like, you can numb out, you can check out, of course you can. But what's the point? Like, I want us to experience all of the gorgeous like spectrum of what it is to be alive. Otherwise, we're just waiting to die.
Yeah.
And we're all gonna die. So I want that whole spectrum to be like absolutely freaking gorgeous. And like to know that pain is like, oh, that feels like that. Oh, but love, okay. And what can I do with that versus that? Versus this point of powerlessness where we numb out and just think that someone's coming to save us. They ain't.
They ain't.
And then we think that, and that we've got no agency and power over choices and way of living and how we show up in the world, and whether we share our voices or whether it's safe to share our voices or not.
Well, you are definitely making this planet a safer place by helping women remember that.
Well, and right, and this is the thing as well. Like I did write in which, like, it ain't always gonna be safe either.
Right.
And I
Right.
think, and we have to, and two parts to that is one part that doesn't, when I say remember our magic, it doesn't mean like just be like, yes, I've remembered it, I'm just going to be full out. When we do remember our magic, it's also remembering that not everyone gets to have access to it, because you are so worthy and powerful that actually people have to show that they're worthy of you and your magic. That's a given, right? So that's the first part. But then there's this other part um where it might not always be safe, yet we have to create safety for each other. And that's what I feel like when we're talking about lifting each other up, but when we're also talking about creating spaces like this where we can have these conversations, it's like um it's not always going to be safe, so we have to make it safe for each other.
Mhm.
And so, and that comes with having to like open our hearts a little wider to things that we might have been told we don't agree with. And remember, I said like we might have been told we don't agree with versus whether we know. And that's the bit about remembering our magic, because when we practice that, we can practice discernment. We can practice having the capacity to hold more than one view and opinion, and letting other people have those views and opinions and then not necessarily be ours. And we can still be in the same space without it being a yes, no, this or that. Like we're looking at creating that expansion so that there's like this capacity for it to be
Mhm.
like, oh, there's a lot of possibilities here, because when there's possibilities, we can create. When
Yes.
there's like a yes or a no or a this or a that, it becomes puritanical. Who wants that? I don't.
I
I don't.
don't. Yeah.
No.
No. And going through all these things, it helps individuals, it helps people remind themselves of how dynamic they are.
Yes.
'Cause
Yes.
that conditioning can bring us into these boxes, and we feel like
Oh,
that's it.
and you're so right. It's the boxes, right? I think, it's like even on our phones, like keep bringing our peripheral vision into this very small little box. Whereas actually, if we can just get expansive with that vision, we remember that the magic still it resides in that peripheral space. That
Right.
we can, there's magic in that peripheral part where we can see, but like not everyone can if you stay like so blinkered.
Oh, that's a good one. Yeah,
Mm.
stay peripheral so you can listen in to other something else. Yeah, your the
Yeah.
daily magic.
There's more possibility when that peripheral is widened, when instead of like you said, if it's in box, whether that's literally, figuratively, whether we're kind of like in a box and then we look at a box in a box, like, oh,
Yeah,
there's an Instagram post in a box that's sort of like that's
right.
holding the world. My world lives in this little phone, and then it's like everything's in this box, and so our little vision goes, and then that box
Yes.
gets to control us because our peripheral vision isn't expansive. So we're like, oh no, this little box tells me everything. Oh wait, no, look, there's all of this around me. Like what?
Yes.
Mm.
Yeah, we are like their commodity in there when we stay so focused in there.
And I'm not bad mouthing it. I love social media and hate it at the same time, because I am a paradox. But
Yeah.
and we all are, and that's totally cool. But what I'm saying is like just having an awareness. That's all. Like I know that if I've been on there more than 15 minutes, G-Friend needs to get out. She needs to get out in the world. She needs to go for a walk. She needs to see that there are real people out there in the world too.
Oh my god, I just saw you lift up your arm and I see you have a tattoo here. Is that the Venus? Is that her cycle
Oh
on your
yes. Yes. Yeah, I have that right there.
When did you get that?
When I was living in Glastonbury, so 2018, I think. Yeah, so it's been a hot minute. It's been a hot minute. But that's what I mean is like I almost when we tell our own stories, right? It's almost like she was working, she was working me. And so, I've got tattoos that kind of unfold their story, and I'm like, oh, that's why. Oh, okay. And so, you know, my body is my altar in terms of that, but it's also, you know, just it's a different way of telling stories, right? So
Yes, it is, but just in that, sacred geometry of
mm,
Venus on your arm,
mm,
just to draw in the viewers a little bit more of what we're looking at. So it is, you say it so well, but let me just try. It's the planet Venus
uh-huh.
in her 8-year cycle, or how many year cycle
Yeah. So
will
8 years, like,
create
we'll
this
create.
sacred geometry of a flower.
So in the center, there's a pentagram. So what it happens is that there's five, it makes five stop-offs. Like, so we have 5 19-ish month cycles that all make a point. They make 5 points, and five is this very beautiful number um in reference to Venus. And so it's 5 and it's 8, and that's her, you know. And so yeah, and then it makes this wild rose, what I call a wild rose, or a pentagram, both of which are super sacred to us as
That's
women, and
beautiful.
witches. Yeah.
You mentioned that in one of the books.
Yeah. Yeah. It's in South Sorcery, and it's in Witch as well. Like that, you know, it's a, again, it's like everything's hidden in plain sight. Like, as above, so below. That happens in the sky. That's happening in our bodies. We
Yeah,
get to experience, you know, we get to experience that here on Earth, and you know, and we can map that. And you know, and that's what in the book I share how we can map that cycle. And then you'll just go back and you'll see that there were points in your life, and you're like, oh my God. Like, for me, it was just like a complete game changer to witness that there were these like moments that totally align with my Venus return, for instance. So yes, we have a Venus return every time we have a birthday, right? Like, because and there's this 8-year cycle that happens when she returns back to exactly where she was. And so that's, you know, in when you were born. And so there's these like 8-year phases, and then when you look at these 8-year phases and like the medicine they hold, oh yeah, it's I love it. I love, and I could talk about it all day, and yet I still feel like there's not enough. I've not articulated the words properly yet to share it fully with as much kind of gravitas as it deserves. But she's also like deeply feminine, and she's totally cool. I feel like she's totally cool with us just getting excited about it and going, oh, okay, that
yeah,
sounds like fun. Let's go and
yeah.
explore, which is what she's calling us all to do.
Shh. I am on your ride, sister. I am on your
I'm
ride.
so glad you are. It makes me so happy. I'm so glad you are.
Yeah. So I wanted to share with listeners, I
Mm.
enrolled in your Venus workshop,
Yes, thank you so much for being there.
and I didn't know what I was in for. I mean, it was so economical. And I was like, of course, I read your email. And so I was like, of course, I'll see you there. And I think it was even before I knew you had the book. And I just was like, ooh, I could spend more time with Lisa for sure. Um,
We,
and just not setting myself up for any other expectations except for being able to spend time with you. And your workshops, everybody that was with me, it was a beautiful sight to experience because you could see growth from
yeah,
each and every one of us, and we shared it. When we started, it was in beginning of the year, like January, February.
think April. It might have
Oh,
felt like,
April,
like I
April. I'm
think it was
sorry.
April. Yeah. No, don't be sorry.
No, you're
No,
so right. Of
we
course,
started
yes.
for Venus in the Underworld, which is a phase of the Venus of the 19-month cycle, which is when Venus is no longer visible in, like, the planet Venus is no longer visible in the sky. And in many teachings, many cultures, they believe that this is a period of time where Venus goes into the underworld. And so if you follow her cycle, you would have ascended, I mean, you would have descended with her into this underworld space. And then you have this period of time where you're in the underworld with her. So she's out of sight, she's literally behind the sun, so that she's literally out of sight and as far away from Earth as possible. So actually it's when we feel most not disconnected from it, but far, like, our hearts probably feel this like and if we know it, if you're in that, you know, that cyclical kind of container, you do feel it. you do feel like, whoa, she's a far away. I'm here. I've got to deal with this on my own in the dark. Okay. Like,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
And you feel it. And it's a real visceral feeling, and which is why I love to create a container for it. But thank you so much for being there and for sharing that, because yeah, it's for me, they're experiential, right? It's so important for us all to have our own experiences. There's never a like, okay, you're going to do this, you're going to feel this, it's going to look like this. It's like we open a space together, we hold that space together, yet we're not in much communication with each other. There's no kind of like I try and check in versus via email in
Yeah.
between our calls.
Yeah.
There's an email kind of digital love, and then it's you're on your own, because that's the point. That's the point of you being in the underworld. And then we have these gatherings together where we share. And that, I mean, for me, that's always my biggest heart. You know, I cry every call, so I can't help it. And I think it's really important, like, that we share that way. It's
Yeah.
beautiful.
It
Yeah,
is.
I'm blessed. I'm blessed.
When I first started, you provided some music and you were like, just, open up your heart, go inside, let's connect with Venus. And I do daily devotionals for sure.
Love that.
And I added a new one.
Ooh, ooh, ooh. Can we talk about it?
Yeah.
Okay.
I added, I am a woman of faith,
Nice. Beautiful.
which was beautiful. And I was so excited. And then as I went into the dark
Mm.
and kept doing my daily devotionals, I was like, oh no, I have a problem with the word faith. I had to decondition that word faith. I didn't even
Yes.
grow up in an institutional churchy thing.
Yeah.
But I mean, I've said for so many years, I'm spiritual, not religious.
Right.
It's a ticker box when on like online dating. When I saw one of those, I was like, what? Um, but it took me by surprise then in the underworld to really just look at it's beautiful. You can call your
Mhm.
spirituality whatever.
Mhm.
And it was my turn to call it faith.
Love that. I love that. Because you call it back, it's a feminine faith, right? Like, we don't, no one
Yes.
gets to decide on like, we've been told for so long that the creator is outside of us, that it's like, and it's like a dude, and it's masculine, and it's like, and so like it really disconnects us from any idea of us as creatives, but like as a creatrix, as a woman of faith, to her magic and her
Yeah.
medicine. And I don't mean like the witchy kind, although I do, but I mean like just genuinely who we are.
Right.
And it's like, how is like, and that's what, when we're talking about the spell, what you doing was like literally unspelling. Nuh-uh, not on my watch. We're not
Not on
having
my
that.
watch
That's
anymore.
not
Like,
on my
no.
watch.
I'm
Love it.
no.
Love
No. Yeah. The war
that.
on women? Mm-mm. No. No.
Not here. Love
Yes.
that. Love it. And just so beautiful, right? Like to even witness a word. And that's what I mean about the power of words. It's like it could just be that was that was the reason. Like for some people, their whole lives change. And then some people get really cross when they go in the underworld and they're like, well, nothing really happened, because actually the work happens as you leave the underworld and you have to face the real world again. Like
Right.
when she's back out in the
Yeah.
sky as an
Yeah.
evening star, it's when we start an ascent, and our energy starts to ascend with that. But to be seen again, like for some of us, me included, like I am comfy in the dark. Like I like it down there. I'm a Scorpio. I got all the Scorpio placements. It's nice down there. So to actually like I have to leave, I have to be seen, I have to like, and it's like those things that's where the rub is for me, for instance.
Yeah.
So for you, like to have that the recognition of a word and then be like, oh, I've got to like untangle myself from what I've been
Yes.
told that is. And now I have
Yes.
to like reestablish, repower, like almost regenerate what that
Re
means for
Yeah.
me.
Yeah. And just
Powerful.
recultivate. Like it's
Yes.
God is within me. It is, the worst thing we did was try to put it somewhere else, let
Yeah.
alone masculine and in the sky and like can never see it.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
oh. Well,
It's wonderful. So I hope you're gonna continue doing those workshops when the book comes out. Is that something you're gonna
uh,
do?
I am, and the book comes out whilst the book is, and while Venus is in her yeah, her ascent, because I like to think I plan that stuff, you know.
I do. I do too.
so, um, so, but in March 2025, there'll be a new cycle beginning,
Okay.
and hopefully we'll all have the book in our hand, and we'll be able to then take like a 19-month cycle together, and I think it'll be really powerful to be able to do it with with our own intentions, but with a guide. For me,
Yeah.
I was like, where's the guide? Where's
Yes.
this, where's the guidebook? And
Yep.
that's why I wrote it ultimately, was for me, selfishly, first and foremost. And then just to keep it, so because everyone loves to complicate anything to do with like, oh, it has to be initiative, it has to be this, it has to be that, and we put so many gates on. We gatekeep so much of
Yeah.
what is essentially like ours to be remembered, that I'm like, we have to find ways in which to just kind of and for me, I've simplified it, and there'll be people out there be like, oh my god, this is so simple, Lisa, this is so, like, you do realize there's X, Y, and Z, and that you should be. I don't care.
That's their way. It's not your way.
Absolutely. I just want it to be as accessible to as many people that are open to recognizing and remembering that the frequency of love, the feminine frequency, which I love that your podcast is called that. And it's like the title in the Venus. It's
Yes.
in the Venus title. And it's just this remembering of, oh, if we like can start a revolution from our heart,
Yes.
with our art, with all of our creativity, with all of what we've remembered, there will be so much beauty. There'll be so much like gorgeousness to unfold and reveal itself. There's so much that wants to reveal itself. And in a world where we're told like, it's burning, be fearful, be scared, it's ending. Yes, maybe it is. And maybe it's always been like that and no one's seen it. And then now it's just being revealed. And maybe you're remembering your magic so that you get to create a new possibility. We ain't getting stuck in what's dying. That's like, no, like that's what they want for us to be like, oh, it's all dying. It's all like, no, like we're remembering our power. So we get to create what's coming next. That's
Yes.
exciting. That's really exciting to me. Don't settle for what you've been told is it.
Oh, I know. Yeah. Take that time to realize what you want.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's why I love a Venus cycle, right? Because I've always worked with the moon cycles, and they're like this beautiful 4-week cycle, and where you kind of ebb and you flow, and then you've got the
Yep.
menstrual cycle where that's replicated. And so there's lots of different cycles we can work with, but like a 19-month cycle in a bigger 8-year cycle, it's like
Yeah.
we can do some real powerful work in that time. And that for me is what's exciting. She's been in this Venus in Leo 19-month cycle that we're in now. And that Leo energy just wants us to be seen, wants us to practice sharing our voices. And
Yes.
it ain't comfortable for a lot of us. Of course it's not. We've been told our voices, like we've been silenced. We carry the wounds of like all the women that have gone before us, who have been like silenced, misunderstood, maligned, had lies told about them, had their heads chopped off, been burned. Of course it's not going to be easy to talk. Of course it's
Right.
not.
Right.
And what are you going to do? That's what we're here for.
Yeah. We do
So we're
carry
going to
so
practice. We're
much.
going to practice. And that's what I mean about the safety. We're going to create safety for each other so that we can practice, so that we can share. And we can be uncomfortable together.
We
It ain't my comfy space. It ain't my comfy space, that's for sure. My comfy space is like under the duvet with a book. Thank you very much.
right.
Yeah, like I know that, but like I said earlier, like when you're a called woman, you show up.
You show up. Yeah.
You show up and you trust, and you have to have faith. And that's the bit that we're all cultivating. And I think it's so beautiful that that's what came up for you, because such medicine for all of us to hear that, is this faith in ourselves, in our own magic, in our own power, to be able to create something new, to be able to trust who we are, these voices. And yes, we might be misunderstood. And there will be people that do get it, who are just waiting, wanting, longing, yearning to hear it, to feel it, to witness your art, to read your words, to see the color that you spread on a page.
Yes, there are.
I am one
Yes,
of
you
them.
are.
Please bring it all.
Bring
Bring
it.
it
Yes,
all.
you will be an answer to someone's prayer. Just keep the faith.
Exactly that. Oh, that's beautiful. Yeah, that's beautiful.
Yes, you are. Yes, you are. Man, I also wanted to ask you, so with
Mm.
your Venus book, your intention was to write something that you wanted to read, like you wanted to do, right? And then you've kind of were there are there blind spots that you're learning about yourself as you go through this process of launching out into the world?
Are you kidding? Every day. Every
Every day. See, this is what we need to talk about. It's like every day.
Every day, of course. Like, my choice is not to, my deal would be like, I want to Beyonce the shit out of this. I just want to drop it and I want to go, good, it's out there. Like, here you go. Here's the thing. The right people will find it. I trust.
Yeah.
And there is a definite an element to that. When you work with a publisher, that's not quite so easy to do, by the way, because they have a lot of situations where they're like, no, Lisa, we do need you to actually share the book. And I also know that there is like that's part of my medicine as well, is that I have to show up and I have to say that I am totally unashamed about how much I love this book. It's like there's so much and I see it in women who are like, oh, I don't like the sales bit. I don't want to share about it. um like I just wish the work would speak for itself, and I've definitely been that human. I've
Yeah.
definitely been that
Yeah.
human, definitely been that
Yeah.
woman, and I get why as well. All the reasons we've spoken about in our time together today, all of those reasons. And when you create something that you just bloody love, like, please shout about it. Like, we need to. And for me, it's like, that's why I love the fact that it's just got this absolute bold pink cover. Like, it's Barbie pink, like in a world of like very pastely, the kind of spiritual wellness space is very pastel. It's very like, oh,
Right.
and zen. And there's me guy. It's Venus. It's like this book that's got Venus written 5 times on the
And like
cover.
neon yellow, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And I just think we have to play with these things, right? And I think for me, that's what the Venus cycle has been the most revelatory in letting me know is like, Lisa, can you just chill out? Can you loosen up? Can you lighten up? Because I'm like I say, I've got a lot of Scorpio in my chart. And so much of the work that I've done till now has been like I'm very serious about, like, I'm very serious about women knowing their power, right? So I've got very serious about it. And so, but in that, I have lost a little bit of joy. And of course, like,
Oh.
things happen, right? Like, so I've experienced a lot of death in my life.
Yeah.
Like my mum, my dad, like 13 members of my matrilineal line died in the same year. It was gnarly. Like, it was gnarly. And so, of course, there's going to be like a side eye to anyone what, like, you can actually have fun and like hold on to that feeling of joy. Like, I don't get it. Or if I dared to like let a little bit of joy in, like, what if like whoever's taken all of my family members will then like take the person that I'm showing like a little bit of joy and love towards, so
Yeah.
there was definitely some of that, all of that. And these are the very human experiences we have, right? But what it's really done is, and for me, it's definitely been from trips to France. Like, I did like lots of astrocartography work, which I don't know if you know. It's like location astrology, where you kind of look at where you can see where your astrological lines are. So I've got a lot of Venus lines that run through like Paris and France. And so I kind of just went on this really amazing adventure to all of these astrological Venus spaces and places in France, where I'm like, and let me tell you, if you find out where your Venus line is, it's like the world, like, it's so decadent and yum. And of course, it does depend on other placements in your chart. I don't want to get in, don't want the astro people
Okay,
coming at me.
I need to get this number. I need to do this because I too have traveled to sacred sites in France to see the Venuses
Mm,
statuettes. To, I mean, as
mm.
Mary Magdalene Cave, like I was like, we are getting We're going all the way
It's
back.
so interesting to see where your astrocartography lines are in relation to that. Rich, you know, my husband Rich and I both kind of studied the astrocartography because it became so, like, we were like, oh, actually, if I write here, it's so much easier to write here than it is like when I'm in this place. And you're like, oh, that's because, you know, that's because you've got like you know, you've got your writer line through there. You're like, oh, that's so clever. Like, and it's smart. It's so smart. So Rich is the dude because he does all the sciencey bit. He
Okay.
understands. He understands the astrology. I can just tell you how lovely the things are. But yeah, anyway. So we did that, and so there was so much. One, there was that part of it. So you then find the lines where joy lives, and you get to recognize that joy can live in you. And of course, like, and then you
Wait,
just get
wait, wait. I need to
stretching.
pause.
Yeah.
Joy can live in you. I
Yes.
mean, I need a rattle. Yes.
Yes. Let's rattle. I got one. Let's rattle.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it genuinely can. And that was like, and it was revelatory to me. And then to let the whole process of writing this book be joyful. And that's why now when it comes to this part about launching it and sharing it and wanting it to be in the world, and like it, and I've weaved in these like incredible wild, what I call wild roses. So women who have held this Venus lineage
Yeah.
throughout time, and they're like real women and they're archetypal women, and it's just like, oh, it's just that for me was the most fun bit, was like actually these women kind of making themselves known, going, oh yeah, and then you start joining the dots, and then you start realizing, wait, like I've been trying to figure out like who I am as a spirit, like what you were saying earlier about this, who I am as a spiritual person, like.
Yeah.
And then there's been these like, and I can promise, if you're listening to this and like, and if you've been like, I love Mary Magdalene, but I love mermaids, and I love like Anne Boleyn, and I love, you know, and there were like these women throughout history. They are all connected, and Venus is, oh, I got goosebumps. And Venus is
Yep.
the thread. And it's like, and this Venus frequency, this feminine frequency, this frequency of love is the thread. And it's what's being called up in so many of us. And like, we've not had words for it. We've not had language for it because they've taken it from us, because our language is felt. And so we don't need necessarily a book. But if we're going to have one, it's going to be pink and it's going to be gorgeous. That's what I've decided.
Of
But if
course.
we, and that will lead us. And like the women that show themselves to you as wild roses may be very different, but they will have all the same flavor. They'll all have this kind of, almost, they'll have a cheeky wink, and they'll have
Yep.
this rebellious nature, and you can guarantee that they've been maligned and a lot of people have given them a hard time.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. What you're saying just reminds me that I want to curate an exhibition and I want to title it uh, and give homage to uh, an exhibition that I saw when I was in Vienna. And it was with female French cinematographers and videographers making video art, but video art in the 70s. And it was called Defiant Muses.
Stop it. That's the best title ever. My God, I love that.
Love
I
it.
Well,
Yes.
I want to come. I'm
Coming
in.
soon.
Buy my
Yes.
tickets. Buy my tickets now. I'm here for it.
Well, you can
Love
write the
that.
introduction for it.
Stop it. I'm in. I'm in. Don't make promises. Don't make promises, because I'm like, I will hold you to that. That's so
Okay.
good.
Well, I love
That's,
curating shows, so it's in there.
oh my goodness, so good.
Yeah.
So good. So good.
So
But that's it.
good.
That's what we should all be looking to be, is the defiant muse. We don't need a
Yes.
ton of other people telling us what to do. And that will look, like I say, that's uncomfortable for a lot of people. It's uncomfortable for me too, you know,
Yeah,
and we're still got to show up. We've still got to show up.
you do. And I got to tell you, what helped me show up for myself and for other
Mm.
women is reading your
Yeah.
book, Love Your Lady Landscape. I
Oh.
saw so many blind spots that I was like, wait, what? I was looking over my own shoulder going, why am I still carrying this baggage? I mean, there are things that I was a competitive swimmer growing up. And so,
Right.
you got to eat right. But
Mm.
it's back in the 80s when body mass index, figures and numbers and stats were coming out. I was like 10 years old, skinny as a rail. being told by some gym coach that I was fat.
Wild.
I mean,
It doesn't surprise me, but it's still wild, isn't it?
yeah, like what is the like what? I was like kind of ranked in the country at that time for being for a
Wow.
10-year-old swimmer. And so
And what
then
impact
like
do you think that had?
pardon,
What impact do you think that story, that particular part of your story had on your experience?
if I was told that I was fat then, that as soon
Mm-hmm.
as I got boobs and my thighs
Mm.
carried me to I must be fat all the way.
And so
I'm
then what was your
49 years old.
relationship? And then what was your relationship with your body?
Not good.
Yeah, right. Not good.
Not
Yeah,
good.
right.
And I went through a battle with endometriosis
Yeah.
for like
Yeah.
17 years. And I know you publicly talked about that too. So I
Yeah.
was really stressed out about my body. I mean, I had my years where I was like, oh no, this is fine. I'm in there. But then, hormones change, years go by, and I'm like, oop, I'm back to that same spot again. And I just had to learn like that is the cycle that I was going through when I was reading your book. I was like, oh yeah, this is what I am now. And I'm not ever going back there.
Yeah, right.
I'm
But it's
only going forward. Why not do it with some joy and
yeah,
knowing
oh my
myself?
God, yes. Joy, joy, joy. And to recognize as well, right? Like that we are cyclical beings. So when we do come back round, there is always a different texture and a different flavor to the thing we think we're being shown again. Because I always like to just cut us some slack around that because like so many of us are like, what are we here again? Like what are
Yes.
we doing again for?
Yeah.
Like when we think we've done the work, because you have. But you're just like it's an onion. Like there's another layer. There's another layer. And that's what this kind of the society, what I call the societal spell, does to us, as specifically as women. It's really packaged us into a belief system of we're not worthy, we're not enough, or like And I was speaking to Rich, my husband, the other day, and I was saying it's so interesting to me that when there's an upsurge of powerful women, things will always show themselves in fashion, in the psyche, like like a certain drug or a jab that can make you skinny because they want to make us small again, right? So these women can rise, but then there'll be like this magic drug, or there'll be this different thing you
Yeah.
can try, whether it was Slimming World or whether it's now like a different kind of like a jab or something. Like there's always version or drugs, whatever, right? Like in the late 90s or whatever. Like there's cycles of when there's an upsurge in women's power, there
Yeah.
will always be a kind of farmer potentially, to
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 dull it.
medicate us. Yeah, to medicate us or to make us small or to have us so that we, don't allow ourselves to expand, whether that's physically or whether that's mentally, spiritually,
Yeah.
psychologically.
All of
Mm,
it. Did you,
yeah.
how long did it take you to write Love Your Lady Landscape?
Mm. Again, so it was one of those, it was just after I think it was just after my mum had died, and I'd gone to Malta, and I'm very much like a she quester, like what you were saying about going to these sacred sites. I've always been very called, and that was much louder when my mum had left her body, so it became like you have to go to these locations, and Malta. And now I understand that I'm very drawn to like specific places that begin with Mar, like so whether it's Marseille or whether it's Marbella or whether it's like Mallorca or Malta, like there's these Mar power points, and then when I go there, I've got Ceres in the first house, so like Demeter, like all of the kind of empress, the mama energy in the first. So it's for me, it's activated in all of these locations. Again,
What
astrocartography will just like
what a
like
neat connection. Yeah.
I know it's beautiful as well, though,
Doing
isn't it?
yes.
It's gorgeous connection. And so that's my next is like I want to start holding like retreats in those places and spaces as well. So I mean, and we did some in Malta, but when I first went there, we were called a couple of times because it was just a healing for me. Like I couldn't explain it. There were these temples, there's these like, Mar is really everywhere. Like, yes, she's in the shape of Mary in a lot of places, but but ultimately, like these ancient temples that
Yeah.
are older than the said to be. I don't want to get involved in any archaeological conversations, but are said to be older than even the pyramids, right? So
Yeah.
they're gorgeous. Like, they hold so much energy, and because they hadn't been, I mean, I think that's changed now, but they hadn't been visited quite as much. There was so much potency and so much energy that it became quite easy. Again, it was easy for me to write those there. And so, like, a lot of that book, Love Your Lady Landscape, was just a heal. And so many of those temples there are healing temples, what would have been used to activate the kind of the healing in all of us, but like a different kind of frequency of healing that I don't even think any of us can really kind of touch on. We might, so again, if we're in that peripheral vision, we might still get like little inklings of when we
Yeah.
did know.
With your
um
antennas up. Yeah.
yeah, exactly that. And so, but being there was definitely like a healing kind of balm, and it was like, that's what galvanized the book. Really was like, okay, so that's all I have to do is literally feel the thing, share the thing, feel the thing, share the thing. And that's ultimately what my life's become, is this beautiful kind of feminine she quest,
Yeah.
where I experience the thing and then I share what I experience. Like, that's what I'm here to do. And letting that be enough is really difficult as a creative as well. Like, letting that be enough for like, you haven't got to package it up. I mean, obviously you pack it, you write a book and all the things, but it doesn't have to be a big, like, oh, I am this. Like, I'm not. I'm simply experiencing the thing, and then I'm letting the work, letting what I share, whether it's through art, whether it's through words, be available. And then I magnetize awesome women. And I'm very blessed that I magnetize really, really awesome humans because of it, like you. And that's what makes my heart happy, is that I get to then work and be in collaboration with, and then we get to like untangle some stuff together, and then you might go off for a little bit, and then we come back together for something else, and then like we have these conversations, and it's gorgeous. And I'm like, can I let that be enough? Can I let that be what sustains me, nourishes me? Again, we're told us like there has to be a goal, it has to be and that, I haven't got any of those things. It's just, and like it is the trust and it's the faith that that's enough, and that actually that's plenty, and that I'm
That's
enough
yeah.
doing that.
Yes. You are
Yeah.
enough. You are enough. And you're beautiful while you're doing it. And I just reminded me, you have many creative outlets because you're
Yeah.
painting.
Hmm.
And
Well,
look at you, you get
colouring,
all soft
colouring,
again when you're talking about your painting.
colouring. I do get all soft about that. I do. It's like a love. It's all a love, but I feel like I trained to be a writer. You know what I mean? I trained to write, so and so the art feels like very much tender. It's like it comes from a tenderer place, I'd say.
Oh,
Um, and so that's all right as well. So, but I definitely protect the art a lot more, and I'm always like a little bit like, oh, here's my art, like that. Whereas with the books, I'm like, yeah, I trained, I'm good at putting some words together, I know that.
yeah.
But like with
Yeah.
the art, it's like, this is channeled, I color it in with felt tip pens, and I love what I do. And so I hope that again is it supports. And that's all I'm doing, is creating art to support other women to uncover and unfurl and discover theirs and remember and reclaim theirs.
Yeah. Taking the unseen and bring it to the scene.
Yes, sir. Yes.
Yes. You're just so amazing. I just think you're awesome, 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 awesome.
Wow.
Awesome.
Like attracts like. So that's all good. And I've received it, and I'm giving it right on back as well, because it's just joyful to share it around, right?
The law of attraction. Yes.
Mhm.
Yes. Well, what do you think about giving our listeners a little meditation, help them go and start their day or go into their evening whenever they might be listening to
Mm.
it? Because
Mm-mm.
you
Yeah, I'd
are
love to.
okay. I mean, bringing in the senses. It's yeah, I'm going into.
Yeah. Okay. Well, thank you. Well, first of all, thank you for this conversation. It's really filled me up. So I hope whoever finds this, when you find it, when it lands on your heart, that you just receive it in exactly the way that it was intended, which was to evoke and provoke the kind of creative passion and and magic and medicine in your being.
Ooh, provoke.
Right?
Mm.
Okay. So in your own time, if it feels good and safe to do so, what I would ask is that you place a hand on your heart, a hand on your belly or your womb space, whatever feels comfortable. And again, take a little look around, know where you are. And then if it feels safe, you can close your eyes. And I'm going to invite you to take 3 big, beautiful, deep breaths in through the nose, hold for the count of 3, and then out through the nose, really noisily. No, sorry, out through the mouth, sorry, really noisily and really audibly in your own time. Nice, and just stay in the energy, but let your breath return to its usual place and space in your body as we invite she, the feminine frequency, to awaken in us. I invite you to bring your attention to your heart, your big, beautiful heart. And then when you're ready, take that attention down to your belly, your beautiful belly. And you can rub your belly if that feels good. And then on the next in-breath, I invite you to bring your attention all the way down to the place that resides between your hips, your pelvic bowl, our cauldron of creation. And I invite you to land here in your cauldron. And here in your pelvic bowl, in your magical cauldron of creation, it's a place of no thing where anything is possible. And it's here in the dark that we remember. We remember our power. We remember our medicine. We remember our magic. So much of what we've been told about our experience as women, as humans, as creatives, is that we are not enough. It's not safe. And we've had all of our power put in the dark. And we've been told really effectively to be afraid of the dark. Now we know. And when I say know, we know deep in our bones, our blood, our DNA, our mitochondria. We know that this is an old spell. It is millennia old. It's strong, yet you're here. And you are not scared of the dark. And it's here in your cauldron of possibility that you remember, that you reconnect and you reclaim and you revere your power, your medicine, your magic. You call it back. I call back my power now. I call back my power now. I call back my power now. And you let your cauldron of creation awaken to what it's already known, that you are powerful, that you are magical, and that you are here this lifetime to create, to tell a different story, a story where it's safe for you to be sourced, resourced, nourished, and to thrive. Like the wild roses that have been before and that will come after you, you will find a way, because we always find a way. It's our birthright to create, and we need you to create what comes next. And so it is, and so it is, and so it is. I invite you to take in a big, deep breath and give your body a little wiggle and a shake. Just give your heart a little rub, your womb a little rub to just seal the deal. And then I invite, when you are ready, just to come back to the space that we are in here and now. And I am in deep bow and recognition to you and your magic, your power, and your medicine. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Holy moly, that was amazing.
Is that right? Was it
That was
right?
amazing.
Oh, I loved our time together. Thank you for this. It's been gorgeous.
Thank you. Beautiful, brilliant one. I saw the Venus with horn is what I call her, because that's how I the
Yeah,
Venus with
I get what one is. It Lascelles? I can't remember how to say it. Lascelles or
yeah,
something.
the
She's
one in
French.
Bordeaux.
Yes, yeah, that one.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
She popped in to say hi and thank you.
well, she's the oldest one, right? She's the oldest one we got. So
Is
so
she?
you went all the way back.
I like going all the way back. I mean, they choose me. I don't know. I just going
It's
with it.
facts, isn't it? It's facts.
Yeah.
Jodie, what do you do? Tell me all about this art. I'm obsessed.
I am you're so cute. I opened up my own consultancy where I have about 4 programs. So one program is that I curate art shows. So I can consult with museums, I can consult with artists, or organizations. So right now I'm curating with a nonprofit group called Earth Creative. I'm also the president. So it's a double dip where we have 70 artists from all over the world,
My
from
God.
13 countries, and we all talk about climate focused issues with the work. And then I mentor artists so they can have better business decisions and not feel like they're by themselves, and they can make money while making their art. And to keep the wheels turning, to keep the whole ecosystem fresh, I also help collectors add to their collection and occasionally even sell their collection.
That's insane.
And then now I have my podcast because I want to talk about ecofeminism. And
I love that concept, you know. It's beautiful. You're going to write a book about that? Yes.
yes, and I would like you to be
Good.
in this book because I'll
Oh, good.
probably use, the podcast to give direction for the book.
So
Yeah.
smart. But I would want that book. Yeah. I was just when you were even talking about it, I was like, oh, that's so good. That's so good. We want that book. We want that.
Oh God, you're
Also
making me
want the
feel
art
so
that goes
good.
with it. But like, and of course, like it's just like it gives it shouldn't, but it does give like kudos to the thing, right? Like it's like when you're working as hard as you are to have that like piece that supports the whole holds it all together.
Yeah.
Smart.
Yeah. I
Mm,
It's taken a while, and it's taken a while to realize my power and my energy, and
mm.
just bring it all together, because my podcast is my little in-house marketing, but
Love it.
I get to have wonderful discussions.
But also, can I say, as someone, and I know we're recording, but like, if you could not use this bit, that'd be great. But as someone that does a lot of podcasts,
Yeah.
like, I'm also like, I'm a trained journalist, right? So a lot of people with all the biggest hearts are not question askers. You are so good at it. That's why it just felt so gorge, because we were in conversation. And so people go, yeah, we're just having a conversation. I'm like, we're not though, are we? We're not. Like when with all the best love, we're not. But this really was, and it was gorgeous. And that's why, and I think you can tell, like, because
Thank
you bring out
you.
the best, you bring out the best in the human that you're working with. And I think that's so important. Like it's such a joy to be on the receiving end of that. So please
Oh,
know. Not that you need me to tell you, but like you are so good at it. So thank you for making that like a really joyful experience as well.
but I did need to hear it because
Oh,
thank
cool.
you. I did a podcast with I I take it very seriously, like you.
Yeah,
Like I'm like,
I
"Duh,
can
duh, duh."
tell.
And that feedback means the world to me. Thank you.
Oh, and I can tell, like a lot of people have it as like a side thing or a thing that they just think, oh, I'll just add that to my collection. And like, no, no, you shouldn't have. You shouldn't have. Like it's all
Right.
right. But
Yeah.
I don't want to stop anyone having a voice. Of course I don't. But I also think like, and it's the artist in us, I think as well, is that you want it to be gorgeous and you want it to have flavor and you want there to be movement and you that's
Yes.
something you're very good at. So
Thank you.
please
I
know that.
wanted to mean something. Yeah. Thank
Yeah.
you so much. You're really an inspiration to me. Just remembering my senses, like it's not just common sense, but like my
Mhm.
clairaudient, my clair smell,
Yeah.
like
But
my
it's why you're
senses.
so good. And it's like that stuff comes naturally to you. But like when we know what to do with it, that's a whole different ball game. Or at least when we remember that we've got access to it versus like, oh, we're operating in a dude world. And so is that my gut feeling, or is that actually just because that dude is like all that kind of structural system has stressed me out? Like I don't know
Right.
what the difference is. And whereas like when we just cultivate it a bit more, we have like the capacity. And then it's what I'm feeling into is kind of like more I've got no other words for it, but like it's our adult magic because there's like the witchcraft, there's the stuff we can play with and enjoy. But like what you're doing is much more like it's a different level. Like this, what the way you, but you're also doing. I mean, that's Magdalene work. What you're doing here, like with the art, with the with the ecofeminism, with all of that stuff, it's like high stakes, isn't it? It's like it's almost it's not, but it is. Like it's not. We're not playing. This
No.
is, and we are
Yeah.
obviously. I mean, it's that's the paradoxical part, right? Is that we are
Yes.
playing. But you're also like, we're going to make some money and we need to make money because we need to be nourished and we need to be sourced because we can't just be the starving artist.
Yeah, because we need to be liberated. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, empowered. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Thank so actually, so Rich is Viking. I don't even know if I
Yes.
know his real name.
Yeah, his name's
Okay.
Rich. I realized that I never normally mention it, but yeah, his name's Rich. Yeah.
So
He's he's so good. Very good.
I need to get on this cartography thing.
Yeah. Shall I send you a link?
Yes,
It's very good.
please.
I don't know how do I do it on here. Oh, I'll get it on
Well,
this.
we can do it when after, it's
Yeah,
fine.
well, I'll get Sarah to send it to you, but like it's oh, I think I can do it. Here we go.
Okay.
But yeah, it's honestly it was such a game changer when I realized that all these places I was drawn to in like in France specifically was like, oh, actually, like your Venus line runs through there, or and then it's like, so there's your Venus line, and then that Venus line has four possibilities in like in relationship to your natal chart. And so like different places will have a different kind of flavor Venus, if that makes sense. So
Absolutely. Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
just and honestly it just became it's fascinating for one. And I said to Rich, like, you just need to get really like trained in it because like I talk about it in the book, but like I'm very interested in it, but I'm not someone that could do it for, like do a reading for you. Whereas Rich like loves all of the sciencey figuring things out, making the patterns like work, and then he can fit, and then he's a storyteller, so then he tells a story with it, which is just
Right.
so yeah. I don't know why I'm not finding it.
I'm so in because it's kind of when you learn things about that you've never figured out that puzzle, it makes it
Yeah,
easier to
right.
follow your faith. Does for me.
Oh, and that's it. It's like the faith part is like, oh, here we go. I found it now. Geez, that took me a little minute. Yeah, was the trust part that
Yes.
is the bit we all struggle with, I think. So, for women specifically, is like when there's some astrological kind of support, but feels like delicious versus like so much for me, so much of the astrology feels very patriarchal.
Right.
And like be scared of Mercury, be scared of this, and it's like, oh, it's so boring. But where have you gone? Where's that gone? Okay, I see it, I got him here. Yeah, and so I think like this just doesn't feel like that to me. So got it. Oh my goodness, that's a lot of questions,
That's
didn't it?
awesome. That's
There we
awesome.
go.
Well,
Anyway.
I don't even want to say goodbye. Oh, there it is.
Oh
Okay.
no, it's been a joy. Thank you. And on like I mean it. And if there's anything I can do to support you, anything we can work together, like honestly, I'm just obsessed with what you're doing as well. So please know that I'm team you.
Okay. Thank you so much for that
I mean
love,
it.
sister. And I'll keep you posted because when I do shows, I do shows. So
I bet. Oh my God. But that defiant music, like, stop it. Like, that's not the best title in the world ever. Come the fuck on. That's so good, isn't it?
Yeah. So provoke, I think today's I just am just going away with like provoke in
Yes.
such a passionate way, not
Yeah, exactly. And it doesn't have to be like a, that's what I mean. It's like so many people feel like they have to like be the activist, but like in a, like, whereas actually we can just turn this into love by creating like
yeah,
new ways. And it's
yeah,
so much more joyful for us because when we're nourished, we can do that as opposed to like when we're fighting things that are
right.
dying anyway. It's like, come, okay, we're over here now doing something really spectacular.
Whew.
Call in all that, we call in that defiant energy because we need it. We do need
Yes.
it.
Yeah.
We do. Good girl has got to go.
Rebel rousers.
I'm telling myself that though. I'm telling myself that one.
Oh, beautiful one. Thank you so
Thank
much.
you. So good to be with you, Jodie. Hey, but like I say, anything, give me a holler.
Okay. I sure will. All right. See you
Gorgeous one.
soon.
Take care. Lots of love.